without having the ability to have a successful management team. And we can talk some more about that. They do not. They do not. Trust me, Dominion would not have happened if the place had been run well, because you don't let your anchors that far out on the limb, right? And you don't let Newsmax become that successful. I mean, there just were a series of things that proved the mismanagement of the place. And the guy, this is amazing. This is Viet Dean. He was there when I was there. I never knew him. He was their chief legal officer. He was basically like running the joint. He was like the guy that was pretty tight with Paul Ryan, and he was like running everything. I'm sure he had a hand in me going. Anyway, Viet Din, I don't know how to say his name. Viet, V-I-E-T, Din, D-I-N-H. Well, he just left. I don't know if you noticed that. Nobody really noticed because nobody really knows who he is. But he left as Fox's chief legal officer. They were paying him a fortune, like an absolute fortune, to be the chief legal officer, and basically was like trying to run the place, but obviously wasn't running it well. So the chief legal officer somehow gets the company in the position where they have to pay nearly $800 million. I mean, what were they paying this guy for? Mr. Dean got quite a package on his way out. You want to talk about parachutes? $23 million on his way out the door. That's according to SEC filings. And Mr. Dean is also now a consultant for the next 2 years to Fox News and Fox for $2.5 million a year. Okay, so that's 23 plus 5. He gets $28 million for what? For helping the company lose nearly $800 million. Let's round up here. It's nearly $1 billion, and Smartmatic hasn't even happened yet. So this guy was the guy in charge. I guarantee you he was making more money than Suzanne Scott, who's the CEO, or Jay Wallace, who's like her co-CEO or whatever, from New Hampshire, by the way. Anyway, I wish them no ill. Very, very nice people, but not really able to run the whole operation, if you would, of Fox. And I'm not saying that many people can. I mean, look, you think it's easy dealing with all these talents? You think it's easy dealing with me? Or any Tucker or Hannity, and you got Laura. I mean, you've got a lot of big personalities. Lou Dobbs, Maria. What previous management had, and that would be under the guy who built the place, Roger Ailes, what he had was an ability to communicate with all of the talent and effectively, keep the trains on track. Because when you have that many big personalities in a room, you always run this risk, right? Like everybody's trying to kind of outdo one another. Everybody wants to be the star. And I was so surprised when I first got there and I learned like all the primetime shows were always fighting with each other. And I was like, why? Like you're all on the same team, right? Just naive little me, like kind of thinks of it as one big happy place. But no, like they really, and I get it. Like it's television. It is what it is. You get a lot of big personalities and a lot of, dare I say, prima donnas running around, and everybody wants to do better than the next. And so they fight over bookings, they fight over production resources. Let me tell you, you can have it. Like, no fun. This is a part of the business I really don't like, and I really detest. But think of the management structure that you need in place to deal with all of these personalities, big egos. How do you manage that? I mean, CNN is a mess because they couldn't manage it, clearly. They couldn't manage their producers. They couldn't manage their talent. The place was just like coming apart at the seams. And Fox has a very similar situation. And so whether or not Suzanne can really get everybody in line, I don't know. I mean, Jesse just had another screw up. And I'm not sure if they want to promote those screw ups and be like, hey, look, Jesse just said something really awful. Maybe we can bring back some of those people that went over to Newsmax. Or if they want to be very careful with those screw-ups and try and downplay them, because guess what? You can find yourself in more trouble. And it may not just be the trouble that's coming from Smartmatic. It may be the trouble that's coming from even the FCC. So there's a group, it's led by this like Never Trumper guy, Bill Kristol, and they're trying to get this group together to lobby and to push for the administration, the Biden administration, to strip Fox of its licenses to broadcast on all those affiliates. So, whether that's neither here nor there, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it would be certainly a kick in the pants. I don't think Fox wants that, especially when it comes to all the sports stuff and being on like the mainstream Fox network thing. But cable, it wouldn't really matter because cable makes its decisions to, have a network or not have a network. And streaming, it certainly wouldn't matter. But they're not in the streaming business, right? The Fox Nation thing, total disaster, lost a ton of money. They've been getting rid of producers, et cetera, et cetera. So they have their problems. And as a shareholder, you got to look at it and say, is this really making sense? There was an analyst who just earlier this month came out and downgraded the stock. Downgraded, by the time Wall Street does that, that that ship has sailed. I like to point out how Anheuser-Busch didn't get downgraded until a month after the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing, after it already had lost $20 billion worth of market cap. It's now lost $40 billion worth of market cap. And then finally, one little lonely HSBC analyst came out and said, oh, this is probably a hold, not even a sell, just a hold. So when they get an analyst downgrade, and this one was from Wells Fargo, it's kind of significant to watch. Again, I hope they, there's a lot of people there, and I still have a lot of friends there, and their livelihoods are attached to this. So for their sake, I hope the company can figure it out. I do think that it's a rudderless place without good management and without an ownership team that really cares enough about the business itself. And without caring about that business, you do run the risk of turning into just something that, yeah, sure, prints money. Hey, why not? The affiliate fees that you're going to get from cable, those are great. Keep getting them. Go for it, all day long, right? But you're not going to be able to pay your people as well. And when you can't pay your people as well, because you're not going to be able to afford these big salaries, apparently you're giving it all out to the legal department, which just cost you $787 million. Viet Dean was getting the big bucks. If you can't pay your talent, then your talent, most of whom are pretty smart, are going to go do their own thing, right? Why not? Go get your own podcast. Go, put up a light and a camera and start a YouTube channel. Talent can do that. And for those talent that have the sort of financial stability and ability to be able to do that, they certainly will. So I think that, when you look at growth opportunities, this is not a company with one. So Iger, yeah, he sort of gets it. Whether or not Disney can, get sort of shed itself of all this political nonsense, we'll see. Fox, on the other hand, they're going to try and double down and grow ratings. But the more they do that, the more trouble they get in. And then simultaneously, they back off because not well managed. And when they back off, they make headlines and people say, wait a second, you're not my network anymore. You're not my network. And we're going into a very big election season. And they're going to pretend like they like Trump. But I don't think the viewers are ever going to forget where they really stand. Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.